So we've just celebrated our 8-year birthday as a business. It's been a journey. And in this episode, I want to share the 8 big lessons that I've learned in 8 years of growing this business. Now, this isn't hearing care related. This is business related. But I think the lessons are applicable regardless of the industry you're in. So welcome to the Business of Hearing podcast, the podcast for private practice hearing care leaders that want to grow iconic local status and grow their reputation, recognition, and revenue. I appreciate you being here. And this should be a bit of an interesting conversation. I've made some notes because, 8 years has passed. Statistically, very, very few businesses get to this stage in their journey. So it's been a nice time just to reflect. 8 years of a lot of change, a lot of growth, a lot of personal growth. My life has changed significantly. I started this journey with no children. I've ended up with 2, and not as a result of the business, I will add. But it's been interesting. And these 8 big things that I think I've learned through 8 years of building a business, building it, hired 50 plus people over time, many clients, revenue, everything on this journey. I've boiled it down to 8 things that I think have very much been the big lessons that I'll take from this journey going forward, and that I've learned and that I want to pass on to you. Let's jump into number 1. Number 1 is getting really clear who you're for. Now, look at our business, for example. Fundamentally, we're a marketing agency. Like, if we really break it down, we had to describe to the government what our business does. We're a marketing agency. Now, one thing that many marketing agencies do is they'll say we help everyone. We market for all businesses. What we got clear very early on, and it was kind of an accident, but the biggest blessing, was we got very clear who we're for. Who we're for is small independent practices, typically at the $750,000 to the $2 million mark, that now want to future-proof, want to actually grow, doing it the right way, etc. Now, as a result of that, it means marketing becomes a lot easier. It means service delivery becomes a lot simpler. It means that one thing that works for one is likely to work for somebody else across the country with some nuances depending on location, of course. But I think the most important move that we made very early on was, and dare I say, it comes back to the formula that we talk about, start with who. We got clear on who early, and that's made everything else so significantly better. It's meant that we're not 1 inch deep and a mile wide, we're 1 inch wide and a mile deep. Like, there's depth to what we're doing, and as a result, I think the magic is always in the depth and obsession. Because when you're deep into something, that's when I think the best ideas come. When you see puzzles that you need to be so close to really see, that's where the ideas come, the creativity comes. When you're trying to be everything to everyone, very, very challenging. And looking at how you can apply that to your business is, who are the patients that you should look after? Who are the patients that are for you? Because if you're for everyone, it becomes very difficult to be the master at any of it, which, when you're the master, that really helps, when you really master how we help this people to achieve this certain outcome. But yeah, starting with who, getting really clear on who we help was definitely one of the biggest things that we got right on this journey. And I encourage you to do the same on yours. The second big lesson on this is the evolution of growth. Because prior to Orange and Grey, I'd had a number of businesses, but none of them had grown to the size of Orange and Grey is now. So this has been a big journey of news, first times. And as a result, we've learned a huge amount. And one of my biggest learnings in this has been, and I suppose it comes back to the book by Michael Gerber called The E-Myth, is the first phase is sales, right? Is typically up to your first $1 million is you've got one person who is really good at what they do. You can sell their thing and they pretty much deliver it. And apply that to your world. You may have done the same for your first mil. Is, how do I just become the provider that everyone sees? I get people to come to see me and I scale to like that $1 million mark just doing this on my own. The second stage of that growth is people. Like between the the 1 to like the $3 million mark becomes more of a people game. And as a result, you now need to bring people in, you need to train them on your way, and you need them to take the baton and drive some of your delivery. Now, that is very hard. A lot of people get stuck at the $1 million for that reason, because the skill that gets you there isn't the skill that gets you to the next checkpoint, right? It goes from being good at my thing to being a good manager and leader of my people. Very, very different skills. But like, you go from sales to people, and then finally what I think is the 3 to 5+ mark is process. It's where you go, okay, we're good at the sales piece. Now we get the people in, and the people can continue to do the thing the way that it should be done. And then it's process. How do we scale through process, efficiency, etc.? How do we build leadership, management, and certain values, culture, and all that stuff? So this has been a part of my journey, because I was always really good, call it up to the first $1 million. I'm good at getting people on board and then delivering for them, coming up with the ideas and being the person that's like, okay, there's the puzzle. I'm going to go and solve it over here, and then I'll bring you the solution. That people part has been hard. Really hard yards. Getting the right people in the right seats, doing the right work in the right ways is not easy. And I'd like to say we've cracked it. We haven't. It's still a long way to go. There's still seats that the wrong person is potentially in, the right person is not in, etc. It's maybe a never finished job, but fundamentally I think we've got some really good areas that we've got right, and some areas that still need some work, which is all part of the plans and what we're working towards. But the people thing is challenging. The process part is the part that I've always got a puzzle with, because the reason we're capping Orange and Grey in the inner circle at 100 members is because what we don't want to be is a process-driven business. And let me justify this, because if our leadership team are watching this, they'll be screaming at their computers right now, is process is important to a certain level. Efficiency of how we do things and repeatable, SOPs, etc. But when you become so processed that you lose the edge, you lose the creativity, you lose the ability for somebody to make smart decisions in the moment, that's not what this business is going to be. And it's where I think there's a big risk for a creative agency, where marketing is moving faster than anybody can ever see. And it's a reason we've decided to cap it, to ensure we never have to rely on templates and be so structured around process that we lose the flexibility to be nimble and quick. But those 3 phases of, you get the sales right, that's typically your first mil. The 1 to 3 is when it becomes a people game, and the 3 onwards is where it becomes process. And it's very difficult to get through some of those areas, because they're very, very sticky between the gaps, especially that 1 mil plus. Once it becomes not just you, but the team that you need to build, difficult, because often you need to take less profit in order to start growing that team. So you need to take a step back, invest in the staff, train the staff, and that needs to be the catapult to get you to the next level. But it's a difficult skill, difficult to do. Many of us don't like giving up control, especially when we've built a business about the way we like to do things and the expertise that we have. We like the patients, we want hands on the patients, etc. So that has been interesting. Third big lesson that I've learned over the past 8 years is the importance of building a leadership team. Now, this comes into that staffing thing that I've just mentioned, but a couple of years ago now, we started to build a leadership team within the organization, which meant that we have someone now, okay, your accountability, your area is this. We have somebody whose area is this, etc., etc. That has been a big thing, because when you get a good leadership team with good people in those roles and good leaders in those roles, it's a game changer for you as an owner. You've got other people now who are in there with you, dealing with the puzzles that exist, caring about the details, caring about driving their department to be as successful as it possibly can be. And as a result, once you build that tight leadership team, you feel like you could conquer the world. Like, no problem's ever a big problem. You can never shy away from a problem. You're ready to take anything head on. But building a leadership team for me has been a journey that's not been easy, because the most important thing with a leadership team is you need to put them in their place and get out their way. And I struggle with that. I like to be involved. I cause a little bit of a mess around me. If there's a process, I'm the one who probably breaks the process first. So I've had to be well disciplined for the greater good of the business and everyone in the business and the clients that we serve. But building a leadership team has been joyful. Now, the way that we've done it, just for transparency, is we've hired people to step straight into the leadership team, sure. But the core of our leadership team is people that have been in the organization for a period of time that have grown and evolved in the business. And I'd consider us quite an entrepreneurial business. Like, we like to promote within, we like to spot people with ambition and help meet that ambition. So as a result, we've moved a lot of people up, given them more responsibility. And every time they've taken more responsibility, they've delivered more and more. They represent values. They're amazing at what they do. So that's been the way that we've done it. And I know there's a number of different ways you could structure and create your own leadership team. On to number 4. And this is an admission of guilt to a degree. You're not a charity. That was my biggest lesson. Now, like, fundamentally, I just really like to help everyone. It's kind of in my DNA a little bit, is I like to make other people happy. And as a result, I say yes to things. I'll do things for free and then regret it immediately. And on this, I've definitely hired people because I felt like I was in a position to do so. And what I mean by that is, especially in the early days, doesn't happen anymore, was like, okay, we need somebody in the business. Who should we hire? I've got a friend who can do that. And you bring them in, and you almost end up accidentally becoming somebody that helps other people that you know you can help in those situations. And I hope I'm wording that in the correct way. But there was a period of time where it's easy to go, okay, we need somebody to do this role. Oh, I know somebody who's just lost their job. I'm going to go and be a hero for them now and give them a new job. And that reminder that, like, we're not there to be a charity. And when you're a caring individual, and I believe many people in this industry are, then we're always looking to help. And as a result of that, we can say yes to things that we shouldn't. We can say yes to commitments that are not actually going to help us move forward. And we can try to look out for people in our lives, give them roles, give them responsibilities, and try and give them an upper hand. And as a result, sometimes that works. But in my instance, or my experience, many situations, it doesn't. So, I think that's a big one. If you're a caring business owner and you're growing and roles become available, it's always easy to look at people you know first. I think it's a mistake based on my experience anyway. Number 5 on this journey is, I'm going to term it as innovate or evaporate. Now, there's been... If we look at 8 years in marketing, for example, like, it's dramatically changed so much, and it's so easy to stand still. It's so easy as a business to build process and build ways we deliver things and then get proud of the thing you've built, that you stand behind it. Whereas what I've learned over time, that is, if you ever, we have a mantra in the business that what's good enough for tomorrow what was good enough yesterday isn't good enough for tomorrow. And I think it's so key, because it's so easy to go, okay, we've done something, we've perfected it, let's just keep running that play over and over again. And every business school in the world will tell you to do that. Build a process, build a SOP, get it as efficient as possible. But I truly believe as a business, we've got to be continually innovating, especially right now. The market is competitive, the market is fierce. The ones that go, okay, we're going to do it like this, and we're never really going to think about how we do it differently, do it better. We're just going to get very comfortable with this. It gets them by for a period of time, depending on the level of competition, depending on the market, etc. But it's only ever going to end one way. It's never going to end in them improving, getting bigger, getting better. And I think this belief that innovation is not a nice buzzword that should sit on a mood board. It's absolutely core to everything that you do. Whatever you do today, could it be better tomorrow? And that becomes a belief system. That becomes an obsession. That becomes the way that you operate as a business. Because there's been times in our journey where we've built stuff and then we've kind of gone, okay, got comfortable, moved on to something else. And then before you know it, that plate that was spinning over there starts to wobble a little bit. I think this belief and obsession that innovation is just part of your role, part of your responsibility, and moving things forward, improving it continuously is the game. And I find that from a marketing perspective, there's a lot of marketing agencies that are just very comfortable, stuck. The entrepreneur has left the business and they've been bought by a big group. They've got somebody in a leadership role now that is in a paid position. And as a result, what does somebody in a paid position typically do on a wage is they don't run for risk. They run for security. They run to minimize risk. They run not to make any risky decisions. And as a result, I think that's a big, big risk. With innovation being so key, innovation requires risk. So it's got its puzzles, but I think we need to innovate or evaporate. Next one, number 6. This has been almost one of the biggest personal lessons on this journey. And it's about almost self-care. Because in the first, I'd say 4 years of this business, I put blood, sweat, tears, mostly tears into the growth of it. Like long hours, like from 5 a.m. in the morning, late at night on US time doing calls. Like I put years and years of like hours that sacrificed a lot. Sacrificed time with Alfie, who was young at that age, sacrificed health, sacrificed friendships. And I know that all sounds cliche, but like to literally a big, big level on all of them. And it got to probably about year 5, just after COVID, when we was on this. And I was like, oh shit, like I am, I don't need to break to deserve a break, using a Chris Ducker term, right? I think if we're all playing the long game, looking out for ourselves, looking after ourselves, and not trying to burn ourselves out is so key. And I always found there's a level of guilt that sits alongside that, because, I may be having a few hours out to myself, but I know there's people in the business who are working away, and I feel guilty that I'm not there with them. It's a real head fuck as a business owner. Because why do we grow a business? Why do we scale a business? Why do we put all the blood, sweat, tears into growing it? It's so we can get to a point where we don't have to be working 60, 70, 80 hour weeks. Like that's the goal, right? But as you kind of get a bit further into your journey, the business starts to get some stability. It's still like you want the time to get to sort your own stuff out and look out for yourself. But similarly, sometimes the guilt pulls you back in. But I'd say over recent years, I've got good at, on a monthly basis, a day just to myself, where I can try and shut down work. And I don't. I just think about work from a different location, typically without a computer in front of me. But those little areas, like right now, evenings to spend time sat with Sophie watching television that I don't really, I'm there. It's in my diary, like it's a commitment, like I'm there to relax. But like I'm forcing time like that to be who I need to be. Time with the kids, a morning where I'm going to take one of the boys and take them to a soft play and play for the morning while Sophie goes out and does what she needs to do. Like that time is so important. But I think as business owners, we're hardwired, unfortunately, through the hustle culture that we need to work our fingers to the bone, work every hour or we're a failure. But I think self-care and knowing that we can take it a little slower has been a big lesson I've learned. I'd say the hard way. It's been the long way. It's took a lot of sacrifice to get to a point where I'm a little more comfortable doing that, a little more comfortable now looking out for my health, etc. Lesson 7 is to always do the right thing. There's been many times in this journey, and times very recently that I can think of, where you're offered a financial benefit to do something, but you know it's not the right thing to do. And that could be, and I'll share a recent example, being offered an opportunity to work for I will call them a Goliath, a big organization that is a competitor to many small independents that would pay us very handsomely for the work, would pay us at a scale that should be a huge amount of money to help them with marketing, but it's just not the right thing to do. It doesn't align with what we want to achieve. It doesn't align with our beliefs. It would be chasing money rather than chasing purpose. Like there's so many ways where, and so many areas where it's easy to do the wrong thing, whether that's for your staff, for your clients, for where you're going as an organization, go against your beliefs. There's no shortage of opportunities that come up, and you may have the same, right? Is you offer these patients, but somebody comes in and says, we'll give you money for this. Can you help us with this? Or we're going to give you this contract. I think always doing the right thing it sounds cliche, right? Of course, that's a given. That shouldn't be a lesson. But it is. It really tests you, right? Being a business owner, sometimes you're offered opportunities to go against your soul for the greater good of the business, for more money in the business, etc. But being firm on your beliefs, firm on your stance, I think is so important, yet probably underappreciated because it often happens in the shadows when you say no to things that many others would say yes towards. And that brings us on to the final lesson that I've learned in this journey is have fun. Once again, this doesn't sound like remarkably unique, but like this is a horrible, tiring journey, running a business. Like nobody really understands what you've signed up for until you've signed up for it. And it's very easy to get into head down, never bring your head up, never enjoy the moment, never make time to enjoy time. And I think that's been a big one. And I think that's from, saying yes to traveling different parts of the world to speak now and hang around with people that are cool and interesting, to purposely doing things with our team that are fun, working with people that you like spending time with, that you'd probably spend time with out of business because you've got value alignment. I think having fun is something that we should all take more seriously, because before we know it, 35, 40 years are going to pass and we're going to be retired. And if it's just been doing work that's hard to look after our family, then that's going to be, just a waste of the peak years that exist. Can you look after your family and have a little fun in the process? I believe you can. I think that's been a big fundamental mantra that we've done. There's been some years, early days, that weren't fun, that was head down, hard work, and more, not having personality, fun, relationships that were tight. I think recent times with where we're at now is, I'm looking at this as the game that it is. How do we help as many people? How do we do good work? How do we enjoy the journey along the way? But 8 years of Orange and Grey, and looking forward to doubling that and 8 further years from here, and many, many more, because I feel the impact and our responsibility and role that we have to help private practice hearing care leaders right now. I think the work's only just beginning. And what we work with 84 now, our ceiling's 100. Like, we haven't got long to go before we're at the 100 and we've achieved that certain milestone. But the goal of how do we help the people that we work with to spearhead the future, and how do we really do the right work to ensure the future of this industry is patients choose independent practices as the sole option. That's the mission, and very excited to drive that mission as heavily as possible. But hopefully that's helpful. And like I said, this wasn't hearing care related. This was zooming out further and just looking at business lessons. So get really good at helping somebody, know the evolution of growth from sales people to process. Building a leadership team is so key. We're not a charity. You've got to innovate or evaporate. Self-care and looking after yourself is so key. Always do the right thing, never go against your values. And then finally, please have fun in the process. But felt like a little bit of a counseling therapy session that. But hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully there's something there that gives you some guidance on a puzzle that you may be facing, or giving you clarity on a decision that you need to make. And appreciate you joining me as always. And I'll speak to you again next week with another episode.